Turn your mics on so we can get this rolling. Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to call this regular meeting of the City Plan Commission to order. Today is Tuesday, April 18th. It is 4:50 p.m. And we'll start by taking a roll call. Noel Sanchez.
Nicole Verdi.
Harry Bilodeau.
Cheyenne Mandracar, DPD staff.
Bob Azar, DPD staff.
Megan DeSanto, counsel for the CPC.
And Michael Gazdaco, chair. We'll go right into the approval of the minutes from the March 21st meeting. You all should have received them in advance, and hopefully you had a time to peruse them.
I have, and I'd like to make a motion to approve another issue of Cheyenne's excellent minutes.
Harry, this
This
was
one
our
from March
planning
21st.
Left Simon did it this month.
Oh, I thank Les Simon, and nevertheless, usually Cheyenne's are very good.
I assume you proofed them, Choyan?
Yeah.
Okay, then you contributed. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, we'll go around. Noel. Aye. Nicole.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Director's report.
Okay, the only thing I have to report today is that we have new counsel. We have Megan DeSanto here from the law department. We're thrilled to have her here. She has, you may not know it, but she has represented the city, the zoning board and the city plan commission in front of the Superior Court and Supreme Court even, took the student housing ordinance all the way to the Supreme Court. A well-seasoned attorney. She knows the work of this body very well. She will be trading off with another attorney from the law department named Sharon Garner, who I think you might see, if not next month, then the month after. They have a schedule where they'll trade off. So we're thrilled to have seamless representation and just want to welcome Megan.
Welcome. Thank you. With that, we have a busy agenda this evening. So we're going to ask the applicants and the public's help with speeding this agenda along. So we're going to jump right into the first matter of this agenda, which is a major land development. It's a public hearing for a unified development plan review. It's a withdrawal of the application for case number 23-007 UDR 740 Plainfield Street.
Okay, yeah, we have a request for a withdrawal on this. This had been continued to this month. So we got a written request for it to be withdrawn. You simply have to accept that withdrawal. Seconded.
Okay, go around. Noel. Aye. Nicole.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, moving right along. See, we're being judicious with our time here. Minor subdivision. This is the second agenda item, case number 23-024 MI at 69 Pinedo Street.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And a quick introduction. This is a request to subdivide a lot that measures about 13,584 square feet into two lots of 6,412 and 7,180 square feet. And this lot is currently occupied by a two-family dwelling and a garage. The applicant wants to split the lot, which would result in the house on one lot and the garage on the other. And so the applicant will be talking to you about the fact that they would need to get plans for you to develop the lot to get final plan approval, as the garage will be an accessory structure on a separate lot. So as the applicants here, they can tell us more about the project.
Applicants, if you wouldn't mind going up to the table right there, and you can present any further information that Choyan hasn't. Just so everybody knows, this is an as of right subdivision, but for this accessory structure.
My name is Kyle Bell. Adrian DeLumba. We basically just want to put a two-family on that lot and keep the two-family with the garage. Okay, does anyone on the commission have any questions for the applicants? This is a city council referral. Again, if they, oh, I'm sorry, this is a minor subdivision. You're right. A by right minor subdivision at that. All right, no questions for the applicant? Great, thank you very much. This is a public hearing, so we will see if anyone here in the audience is here to comment on this agenda item. And if you're joining us in the virtual world, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you are calling in. Seeing none. Okay. With that, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Now on to deliberations. Oh, staff report, yeah. We need that too. Trying to speed it along too fast, I guess.
Yeah, and thanks, Commissioner. So as we've outlined in the staff report, this project is in conformance with the comp plan since it's in an area that the future land use map intends for low-density residential development. And as discussed, the plan conforms to the zoning ordinance, given that they will have the required lot width as well as the minimum lot size. However, as the garage is located on a separate lot and it's an accessory structure, in order for you to approve final plan approval, the applicant will need to either demolish the garage or have plans approved for a new two-family on the lot so that it's not the sole accessory structure on the lot. And also, one more thing I would like to point out is if you look at the plan, it shows a side yard setback for lot A of about 8.9 feet, and that needs to be 10 feet in order to conform with the ordinance, so that can be changed on the final plan. Based on that, we don't foresee a negative environmental impact. This will be a buildable lot, and street access will be provided from the Pinedo Ave. So based on that, we would recommend that you approve the preliminary plan subject to these conditions, that the applicant obtain a building permit for principal dwelling or demolish the garage. Prior to final plan approval, final plan shall indicate conformance with the canopy coverage requirement and impervious surface limits. And also to that, I would add that the side yard setback that's depicted should be 10 feet or more. And then the validity of the preliminary plan should be extended to 1 year from the date of recording the approval letter. And finally, we ask that final plan approval be delegated to DPD staff.
Mr. Chair, just briefly, thank you, Choyan, for pointing that side yard setback out. That's a brand new regulation that passed late last year, where lots of 60 feet or more in width have to have a 10-foot setback in the side yard. They have plenty of room to tweak that line over a little bit and still be within the minimum lot size, larger than the minimum lot size.
Okay, great. All right, we have the staff report. This one's a pretty cut and dry by right. Again, they have to come back if anything changes or if they don't demolish the garage as accessory structure. But, it seems pretty cut and dry.
Just one question, because they don't have a driveway on the other side and the line goes right through their driveway. Is that correct?
Well, it looks like with their new lot line,
It's on the,
Their new lot line, it may actually be close enough.
well, the lot line is through the driveway.
Yeah, I could make a statement here. So if you notice, lot A would have two curb cuts, at least, or one and a half perhaps. And lot B has a overly wide curb cut. As they're developing this for new houses, they'll have to modify those because we only allow for one curb cut for a house. So that would
They
have.
also have to remove the driveway, the current existing driveway.
Yeah,
the-
they're gonna have to, when they develop this, they'll have to come into compliance with zoning. And when you talk about the current driveway, which one are you talking
So
about?
there's a driveway, well, at least in photos and then on the map. There's a driveway right where the proposed lot line is. Correct.
Bear with me just a minute here.
That's right.
Yeah, so if they can put that lot line so that it's coincident with the easterly edge of that driveway, or move it even further to the east so that it's not impacting the driveway, then they'll be fine.
And again, they have plenty of frontage on, to allow them to do that, to move the line over.
So you could certainly make that a condition that that line move over so that there's at least a 10-foot setback from for the interior side yard. And you could additionally require that it be moved so that I think it would be in their best interest to move it even further so that it doesn't impact the driveway at all.
Unless they're gonna put the driveway on the other side. I'm just thinking of.
Yeah.
Would you like me to get
permeability and all
the
that.
applicant back up so that we can ask them that question? Do you guys mind coming back up for a second? Obviously, you hear our discussion around the lot line and the existing driveway.
What I'll do is I'll pull this up on the screen so you can see it. Where you're proposing a lot line currently is going to be at about 9 feet off of this house. I don't know how wide this driveway is, but in any event, you've got to be 10 feet to the side lot line. You want to put a lot line in here somewhere. You've got to be at least 10 feet off the house. Okay, so if you move that over such that it's at least 10 feet off the house and it doesn't run down the middle of this driveway, you'll be fine. You'll still have more than enough space here. So are you willing to do that for the final plan? Just tweak that line over a little bit. And would you keep this driveway here? Is that the intention? Okay.
And then you close up the curb cut on Argyle Street if that is in fact a curb cut under that tree? There isn't?
There is.
Okay, then that should be reflected.
Survey. Maybe you should have the survey updated if that's not correct. But if it is there, you know, that would be a condition of improvements.
There's no cover bed by it.
No, you can either demolish it or you can have plans for a new two-family. So then that way you have room to do.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Any other questions for the
So
applicant?
the garage can remain on the lot line. It's on the lot line.
The garage is not on the lot line.
The garage is off of the lot line a little bit? Or are you talking about the shed? No, the garage. The garage is off of the lot line. This is the lot line right here.
They would just need to have an additional structure for this to be an accessory structure for, or demolish it for it to be illegal conforming use.
So in the survey,
Yeah, this would all be updated for the final. And you heard all the rest of the recommendations from the planning board and you're all right with them? Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there are other questions, I will make a motion that we approve the preliminary plan, subject to based on everything we heard today and what's in the staff report, subject to the conditions in the staff report, but then adding the condition that the side yard be depicted as 10 feet and to move the lot line, so it's consistent with the driveway.
Enough? Yes. Okay.
and the other.
If there is a curb cut on Argyle Street, you can make a condition that that be closed.
And if there's a curb cut on our street, we make a condition that they close it.
I think that encompasses everything.
My second.
All right, right on. We have a motion on the table. Any discussion or Not, we'll go to a vote. Noel? Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry? Aye. And I vote aye. Good luck. We'll move into our next agenda item, which is agenda item number 3, which is a city council referral. I was just jumping ahead too quickly. This is referral number 3538. It's a rezoning of 693 and 697 Douglas Avenue. Looks like Attorney Conley is representing the applicant. Choyan, do you want to tee this up?
Yeah, real quick. Commissioners, this is a request for a zone change from R2 to R4, as the applicant intends to construct multifamily development on the 2 lots. And this zone change is being requested for that reason, and it's located at 693, 697 Douglas Ave. And as you know, for changes to R4, we do require that plans be submitted, and the applicant has submitted plans which are available on the website, and they will be reviewed through DPR. So I guess the applicant's here and they can tell us more about their intention.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I've just handed out a package, which is going to be the basis of my commentary. It is largely just the administrative report that Choyan just read, as well as the plans that were submitted. I have a cover sheet, which I think just gives us a good perspective on what the lots are in relation to the neighborhood. I think, so if you take a look, I've used my incredible computer skills to draw very neatly the box around the 2 lots in question, but it's directly across the street from a C1 zone, and it's pretty much immediately adjacent to the C2 zone. The history on the parcels, the first parcel that is not included within my highlights was originally a salon, and the 2 adjacent parcels were used as parking in support of the salon. You know, I kind of think of this as a gentle upzone. We're kind of looking for that missing middle type of housing. You know, Mr. Chairman, I heard your request to be sort of brief. I am happy to walk through why I think it's important for the creation of more housing portion of the comp plan, but it is already cited within the recommendation. So to the extent that I can answer questions, I will, but I'll spare everyone my standard speech if that makes sense.
Okay. So this is just for the city council recommendation. You'd be coming back in front of us if this was, the zoning was changed for the land development project, unless it's not. It would be DPR, which would be administrative, yes.
Yeah,
If
so,
there'd be 2
yeah.
lots under 10,000 square.
Well, it's the fact that what they're proposing for these lots is on each lot, they would have 8 units. And those are below the threshold for land development projects. So they have submitted to us some schematic plans that show a design. That doesn't get reviewed by the City Plan Commission. It gets reviewed at the staff level development plan review committee.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? One final question. These are the vacant lots on Douglas Ave, correct? They're not the
Correct.
existing buildings that are there. These are just
They're presently vacant. So
surface lots.
surface lots, we will be adding greenery in addition to the R4s requires a decent amount of permeable surface and things like that. We are also immediately adjacent to a bus stop. We think it's kind of a really good opportunity for the new R4 zone to kind of show what it can do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Attorney Conley.
Thank you.
I guess with that, we'll hear the staff report and then we'll go into public comment.
And as you saw on the zoning map that was presented, these 2 lots are in proximity to the C1 and C2 zone where multifamily development is permitted by right. And so given that this portion of Douglas Ave has a mixed character, given the differences in uses and zones, we do feel that this change would be appropriate and it would be in conformance with the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, which intends for multifamily development as well as mixed use and commercial located in proximity. It would also conform to objective H4 of the comprehensive plan. And this would be in conformance with the purposes of zoning. And we don't foresee any negative impacts. And based on that, we recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the council to approve the zone change to R4.
Okay. Thank you, Choyan. With that, if there is anyone here in our audience that wishes to comment on this agenda item, again, we're on agenda item number 3, rezoning of 693 and 697 Douglas Ave. If you're joining us from home, remember to raise your virtual hand in the middle section of, bottom section of your screen, or press *9 if you're calling in. And seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Well, I like
think
seeing
this is
more,
really exciting.
the R4 zone
Yeah.
being used. This is
I guess
exactly
maybe
what we
it's
wanted it for.
Land use nerds say
Yeah.
this is exciting, but
I feel like this is kind of exactly the idea that we had for this zone. So this is great. I agree.
Okay, I will, based on everything we heard, I will make a motion that we recommend positively that the council approve the change to the R4 zone.
All right, we have a motion by Nicole. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the table. Any discussion or deliberation? Hearing none, we'll go around for the vote. Noel? Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry? Aye. And I vote aye. Good luck. Moving right along. Agenda item number 4, another city council referral. It's referral number 3543, the rezoning of 4 Avon Street.
And thanks, commissioners. This is another zone change to R4. However, it is to legalize an existing dwelling that's located in the R3 zone. So this lot is occupied by a 5-unit dwelling, and the applicant is seeking the zone change in order to legalize that dwelling. And so they're here and they can tell us more.
Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Gabriela Mendez.
Hi,
Good
pleasure.
evening. As simple as that. Just R4 to conform my house to the 5-family.
So you currently have 5
Yeah.
5 families in the house. It's an existing non-conforming use.
Yeah.
Is there, Troyan, is there anything else the applicant would need to do? It's an existing structure, so there wouldn't need to be any landscape or anything like that.
No,
Correct.
it appears that they could do the landscaping, but if they were to decide to build on it, depending on the magnitude of that development, they would need to either apply for DPR or get referral.
And surrounding uses of this property are, we have R3, C2 in the vicinity, M1, not too far away.
It's fairly close to.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant? Thank you very much. Let's hear the staff report.
And again, commissioners, so as we discussed, this change is intended to have the existing land use conform to the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan, and we feel that the zone change would achieve that based on the surroundings as well as the current development on the lot. And so based on that, we recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the council to change.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone here, we're going to,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just add to this, as we're, it definitely appears that the R4 zone is useful out there in the community. And I think you're seeing tonight 2 examples of exactly why we created this zone. One is for new development, and one is to recognize existing non-conforming development. So this is a good example of the latter. And with that in mind, this is also a very large lot, over 17,000 square feet. It could be subdivided in the future. So, there are lots of opportunities and lots of flexibility with that zone.
it's much better than, a C zone with a footnote that we used to have to do in order to make these lots conform. All right, so with that, we will open up public comment for this agenda item. And this is agenda item number 4, rezoning of 4 Avon Street. If there's anyone here in the audience to comment on this agenda item, and if you're joining us from home in the virtual world, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. And seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Another good use of the R4 zone, in my opinion.
Is it currently illegal for bi-family, unconforming, non-conforming?
Yes, I believe at least one of the units is considered to be illegal. So they would have to certainly comply with the building code. And it wouldn't, R4 wouldn't necessarily solve all their problems. They may have to make some modifications to comply with the building code, but that would happen after the zoning change passes.
It looked from the pictures, a little bit I saw, it looked like a smaller, well, it wasn't built as a five-family.
I would agree with that based on what I could see.
So to bring it into compliance after it's approved would require
A building permit. They'd have to get a building permit to establish the use. And part of it would be compliance with zoning, and then part of it would be compliance with building and fire code.
So can we ensure that that happens?
Maybe
We'll call the
applicant
applicant back up so that they can answer.
I am in the process of doing that right now.
Okay.
So, yes, there is a permit already in place, and there is a plans already submitted, and we are making the units. Yeah,
So this would be kind of the final step for it to all come together. Because I don't believe that they'll be able to approve the fifth family with an existing non-conforming use.
that is
Therefore, the
yeah.
R4 needs to be
exactly.
in place prior to that.
So there is no approval unless
Unless we change. the
it's
zoning.
conform, yeah, exactly.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. That makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me.
Noel, do we need to include a statement about this or no?
I don't know. I don't believe so.
I don't think
because
you do.
This is the referral for the city council to approve the zoning. I mean, inspections and standards will do their job and make sure that that all happens.
I think the only concern, not concern, but because it's in process to understand, but it could just stay like that and not be made to conform the legal unit. Right.
You could.
The units could stay like they are and not be.
Correct, but it seems
But
like
I think
testimony
that's
from the
right.
applicant, this derived from them trying to make legal units. So I think we have to go on the testimony from the applicant. I mean, that's my opinion.
I would agree with that. And I think, you know, I can verify that this application has been filed. You know, what that means is that the building department is aware of this nonconformity, and they could issue violations if it's not brought into compliance.
So I don't have any, suspicions or anything. It seemed like we might create something that would leave something loophole.
You could certainly, I mean, if you want to include a condition that as a condition of the zoning change, the building be brought into compliance with the building and fire code, we can pass that along to the council.
Yeah, we can certainly add that to our recommendation to the city
I
council.
think it would be wise to recommend.
Sure. Perfect. It works.
Second.
All right, there we go. Any discussions before we take a vote? All right, hearing none, we'll go Noel. Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry? Aye. And I vote aye. Good luck. Moving along to agenda item number 5, another city council referral. It's referral number 3544. It's an amendment of ordinance pertaining to mobile food sales.
Okay, I'll introduce this one. So we have in the zoning ordinance a code, a use group that we call temporary mobile food sales. The intention of this is to allow for on pieces of property for somebody to have a food cart, a food truck, something that doesn't have to be a permanent structure with a storefront and so forth. And you know, you see these occasionally around the city. The permit is granted by the Department of Inspection and Standards, by the zoning official, and there are 12 conditions that currently apply. One of those conditions is that the sale of alcohol is prohibited. And there are also no constraints on the time frame where the mobile food sales can take place. And there's also no discussion about whether there could be any entertainment as part of the mobile food sales. Cornish Associates, which owns the Grants block in downtown, which is not too far from here, just up Westminster Street, they are proposing to put a beer garden outside for the summer months. And they would like to obviously sell beer, it being a beer garden. And so we worked with them on this modification, which would change the regulations for temporary mobile food sales such that alcohol could be provided, but only within the Down City district. And I can pull up the map here and show you the extent of the Down City district. It's the core of downtown. You can see it right there. So it would include, you know, Burnside Park and Kennedy Plaza, certainly the Grants block in the middle, all the way out to roughly where we are. We're just outside of that district. So alcohol could be served there. We include regulation that mobile food sales shall cease operation by 10 p.m. and that incidental entertainment is permitted during hours of operation. We also put in a caveat that the Department of Business Regulation and the Board of Licenses approval is necessary. Should go without saying, but we just put that in to be safe. We also modify the definition of temporary mobile food sales to add alcohol, again, subject to these regulations, and also that the service can be housed in a container. My understanding is that they have a modified shipping container that they're going to be using for this. We're frankly a little wary of people using shipping containers on properties. We already have regulations about shipping containers not being used for storage in certain zones and so forth, but under the conditions, if this is a container that's sort of modified and adapted for this use, we feel that it's appropriate. So given that, that's the extent. This is not just something that would apply to Cornish or to the Grants block. This would apply within the Down City district.
So this would go all the way to Burnside Park and even over to like parts of the Waterfire area.
That's right. Across into sort of the area along Canal Street, part of the sort of RISD campus area there as well.
Looks like we have the applicant here, maybe.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Attorney Dane, D-A-N-E, Ardente, on behalf of Cornish Associates. And other than what has already been presented on our proposal, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the container situation. The applicant, I believe we submitted photos from last year's summer events that they had at the Grants block location. And I just wanted to express that that photo is reflective of exactly kind of the layout that we're going to have. There's really going to be no changes other than the actual containers, and we're going to have landscaping in lieu of the actual, so some nice landscaping. The containers themselves, we're proposing 2 containers. I know that there's concerns with kind of containers and eyesores and whatnot, but these are containers that are going to be uniformly painted in the same color. They're going to have great signage, and actually one of them is going to be a vendor container. Going to have an awning, a modular food window, and The other container is going to be a storage container. Because the issue that they had last year was every time they went to go set up on it, they would have to use some sort of temporary tent. So pretty much every time they had to do these things, they would have to set it up, bring it down, set it, bring it down. But this would create kind of a safe storage area for everything, make it a little easier for everyone. Other than that photo we submitted the narrative drafted by Cornish Associates, and we submitted plans so members can kind of get a look into what that would look like. The only other thing is behind the two shipping containers, I believe we have two portable restroom facilities. And other than that, the considerations reflected earlier are reflected in our actual zoning proposal. But I'd be happy to answer any questions of the council tonight. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, why is this a container, not just a building? I mean, it sounds like a building to me.
Well, the issue between the container and the building situation would be that require more permitting to frankly implement a building, and B, these can be removed at any time. So I imagine in the off season, the applicant would be able to remove them if they had to conduct maintenance on them. Other than that, I can get further answers, but that's my understanding as of right now.
Do you know if they're intended to be there year round?
I believe they are intended to be there year round.
Just not, if it, you know, as we say, if it walks and swims and paddles like a duck, it's a duck. I don't think it's rational to call it a temporary mobile unit if it's gonna be a building sitting there. I mean, I just don't, you know, just for the sake of the poor English language.
The one thing that I've seen though, and this is coming in like different states throughout the East Coast, like for these like beer garden type, like there's one in Bedford and it has similar structures. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, it's fine, for a lack of a better word. So like it does fit in with this beer garden city. I wonder, maybe it is quacks like a duck, it is, they're trying to avoid something, or I also wonder if maybe it fits in with this kind of temporary nature that it seems like, okay, an exciting beer garden comes during a certain part of the year. It's not a building or a restaurant where you walk in. They're a little different from what I've seen.
Well, I understand what Cornish is doing, and I have the full faith that they're going to do it well. But if we're changing the ordinance for the entire down city area, are there any other areas that this may pop up? Are there any other properties that this could occur on?
Well, sure. So, you know, to Commissioner Verdi's statement, we consider any vacant piece of land in downtown to be vacant temporarily. The hope is that it's eventually going to have a building on it. And so that's why we have these temporary regulations. Temporary use permits are usually granted for about a year, and they're renewable. And the reason why we allow them to be temporary and to have standards that are a little bit less than a permanent building is that we have a lot of very restrictive building standards regarding setback and glazing and the amount of the frontage that has to be occupied by a building. I think in downtown, there's a 3-story minimum for a building. So it's a heavy lift to build a building. And frankly, I think that this is a good use of vacant land. You know, you see these parcels being used during PVD Fest and you know, at other times. Frankly, I think it's a better use urbanistically than a parking lot, which is the temporary use that seems to dominate downtown. So, you know, we think it's reasonable, and I agree with Nicole that this adds some vibrancy with a lesser investment of building a brick and mortar establishment. And you know, in the case of the Grants block, Cornish has just built a new structure. They're building out the ground floor for a restaurant with some seating outside and so forth. So I think this kind of works well. We do allow temporary structures within the temporary mobile food sales. We would allow a truck, for example, or we would allow a trailer. We just have had a little bit of concern about containers based on the way they've been used in some cases. But keep in mind also that anything within the Down City District is subject to review by the Downtown Design Review Committee. So there is an added level of regulatory oversight to make sure that random property owners aren't putting, unpainted, hastily, developed, containers on their site. So I think if it's in accordance with a plan, if it's executed properly, if it's approved by the Downtown Design Review Committee, I feel like the safeguards are there.
So this would be reviewed by the Down City.
It would be, yes, or staff. I think in this case, it would be a staff review.
And it would come up for renewal.
Yes,
on a
and it would
regular
come up for
basis.
renewal on a regular basis based on the discretion of the zoning official. But certainly if there are any issues associated with it, that temporary use permit could not be renewed.
Yeah, I do like the intent of this. I worry about that part, and I'm glad to hear that there are some safeguards that are proposed along with it.
So is the temporary permit renewable without limit? And how temporary is the electric service that's temporarily provided?
Well, it's,
Number 9, electric service may be provided only by a temporary.
it's going to be one of those posts they put in.
Well,
with
that's
breaker
right,
box.
right,
Exactly.
It's so temporary, you could have a generator.
You could.
Well, you could, but I'm thinking that they probably won't have.
Oh,
they'll probably
yeah,
have-
they
Probably
won't.
have
I think we're just opening ourselves to abuse. I think that your definition, Bob, with all due respect, of a vacant space can have a container put in it and somebody can open a bar there is bizarre. I mean, a person I think could contest, why would this be limited only to Down City? Why can't it be at Brown? Why can't it be Providence College? Why can't it be at, Elmwood? I think a building should be a building, and if somebody wants to build a bar, they can build a bar. If they want to have a building such as Cornish just did, and they want to have outside food sales, then terrific. But to have containers sitting there, which may be beautifully painted, as opposed to childishly painted, or whatever the fine distinction is there, I don't know. I think it needs a ton more thought, and I think it's really opening up a can of worms that you're going to be sorry, that we would be sorry about.
Well, all right, so we'll go on.
Happy Harry.
Yeah, yes. We all have our opinions on this one, obviously. Anything else, Bob, before we open this up to public comment?
Just again, this is subject to review as well by the Board of Licenses. And if something like this gets out of hand, there are safeguards in place there. So in my opinion, there is more than adequate regulatory oversight. I think that this is something that can help activate vacant lots. I feel like this is tailored in such a way that there are safeguards.
And that this is the area of the city that should be activated by these activities.
Yeah.
This is intentionally, I think, asked for in the Down City area because of that. I mean, there are borders. You saw the map borders. So this is the area that this would apply to, and it would have to be modified, or these ordinances would have to be modified to fit other areas if it were to, if anyone was to
Yeah,
ask to
but
do the
this is
same
a
elsewhere.
little bit, your argument's a little bit like the argument we just, discussion we just had with Noel. He's saying, let's stop the I's and cross the T's. And let's just say you have a 5-unit building, it should be 4 units, you gotta go through the process. We dictate that. I think the same is true here. If we're going to dictate this, we have to figure out, and certainly not gonna happen tonight, we have to figure out what really the parameters are, what are the penalties, we can't just keep throwing stuff at the police and say, okay, it's 11 o'clock, you should have been quiet, now you go to the Board of Licenses, that's a whole process. This goes on and we end up just creating.
Well, there are times too, it's,
Opportunity
shall
for abuse.
cease by 10 o'clock along with the entertainment, correct?
That's true. I would add a couple of points. Within the I-195 district that has its own zoning, there is a beer garden that takes place in the downtown park, and they have a temporary structure there. There is an ice cream stand on the east side that is in a shipping container, modified shipping container. These structures, they can be useful and they can be deployed in a way that I think is very much consistent with a vibrant urban downtown atmosphere. You do see these all over the place in other cities. You see them as information kiosks. You see them as permanent installations.
And you're seeing these types of, I remember probably like 8 or 10 years ago, you walk downtown on the weekends and like, no one would be here. Now you're seeing these beer gardens, you're seeing what you just described. So many more folks are coming to the city and then they're going to restaurants here. They're spending more money in the economy here. I just think this is, we want to be incentivizing this creative zoning and planning, and that's what this does. It incentivizes that to build on some of the, I think there's a magic now in our city on the weekends. That's because of some of these creative ways of incentivizing folks to come to the city. And I think this is in line with that.
So maybe the issue is that we're just putting containers in as opposed to additional different sizes.
Well, it's adding the word container to the.
But it says truck or trailer or non-motorized food cart is what's in now.
As of today, correct.
And we're adding it.
Right,
I know a place on Manhattan Avenue that's got a temporary structure,
right.
but it doesn't look contemporary. But maybe it's because we're just putting in that one specific item.
And this, again, the container is only for down city as well, correct?
No, that would be any temporary mobile food sales.
What was your question again, Michael?
And the use definition that we're proposed, that is being requested for temporary mobile food sales, I asked if that was for the down city area also, and that actually would change it citywide. The first part is.
Well, in the spirit of creative nuance here, we might as well spread it out all over the whole city. If it works downtown, why don't we just put it everywhere? It'd be terrific, right in the middle of Roger Williams Park. Come on, big empty space.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
See, that's what I mean. This is open to abuse.
That's an abuse.
Well,
All right, did the applicant want to say something before?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to, just kind of respond to a couple of Mr. Bilodeau's concerns, because I understand the concern with these, but I just want to reiterate that these are still subject to licensing. So the concern of someone slapping it up in the middle of somewhere without any proper licensing or some container that isn't painted, it's just a concern that could be easily remediated by pointing to the fact that these have to be licensed. The time limit implementation, 10 p.m. we felt that that was an adequate time to kind of remediate any kind of concerns that normal bars would have and Providence Police would have to deal with. We're doing these in the summertime, and they were a great success last year. And as Councilwoman Verity said, the attendance in Providence in summertime is not quite as good as the rest of the year, especially with the beaches so close and whatnot. So I think it's a very good economic incentive for people, especially young people, to stay within the area of Providence in the summertime. And the development impact that the containers kind of bring with them compared to a building is so much lower, and these can be removed. We obviously would be keeping this up year round and intending to be keeping it up year round, but these are movable at any time.
Thank you very much. With that, is there anything else from the staff report level that we need to discuss before we open it up to public comment? I think we have everything on the record.
No, there's not.
All right. That point of this agenda item where we will open it up to public comment. If there's anyone here in the audience that would like to comment on this agenda item, please come on up. If there's anyone in our virtual world, if you'd like to raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you are calling in.
Not seeing any hands raised.
I should note that we did receive one public comment that came in via email before the meeting, and it was in support of this item. It was co-signed by a number of businesses downtown, as I recall. That was the only one, right? Okay. All right. With that, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Continue on with deliberations.
Are other temporary structures an option?
Yes. Well, I mean, they're already allowed.
Where? I mean, not in this,
Truck or trailer or non-motorized food park.
but not structures like. That,
Well, they said they used them.
They used tents last year, I guess.
Yeah, tents are. I don't know that we really speak to tents in the zoning ordinance. I mean, I suppose we could, but
that, I mean, I'm just asking, trying to see if there's other, I mean, a truck or a trailer, right? They can go and take.
yeah. I mean, there could be something that makes it a little more expansive, that says, you know, and the like, or not limited to.
Like
Yeah.
Avon Brothers, truck.
That's a
or
truck.
trailer Can be driven away,
Yes,
which it is.
that's correct.
This is gonna be a box open from say 6 to 10 at night. And then sitting there, and then what? I mean, what are the, you say it's up to licensing. What are does licensing have rules for that supplement fragile enforcement? It does, from reading in the last 30 or 40 years in the paper, I don't get the sense that licensing is particularly tough. Seems to be an ongoing battle. I don't think we have any idea what we're opening here, Pandora's box. I defer to Nicole, who's very astute, pays a lot of attention to creative Providence. I'm older than that.
I tend to agree with
I
Nicole.
don't pay that much attention to it anymore.
I also am older than Nicole, but I agree. I think this doesn't offend me. I think this is something that could be really cool.
I think it just seems not temporary.
I do too. I think it's not temporary.
How long has Doom Brothers been on the 195 land as a temporary food establishment? That's
They're in
not
the
under our
process of
purview.
They're in the process
yeah.
of building a new place.
But I frequent Doom Brothers also, full disclosure.
How about taxes? Will they pay property taxes?
I believe this would be subject, this would be subject to property taxes, certainly.
And how will that be calculated?
I can't speak for the tax
That's the
assessor.
It'd be on your scope, not be on my.
As a body.
You know, I think, you know, when we talk about regulating land, downtown is very strictly regulated. It's akin to a historic district in terms of what you can do with existing buildings and the kinds of buildings that you, if you're going to build new, the regulation is significant. And right now, there's very little you can do between vacant land and a complete building that complies, at least 3 stories tall, that complies with all of the regulations. You're not allowed to build a temporary parking lot. That's prohibited. So if you have vacant land, you can have temporary mobile food sales. You can do it today. You can do it with a food truck. You can do it with, you know, a food cart and so forth. This is a slight departure, a slight increase in intensity, but again, we feel that it's not an inappropriate expansion. And by the way, I'll say this, that there have been times when downtown lots have been used as beer gardens, and it's not allowed. So, you know, in a sense, we're trying to sort of right-size, legalize something that has happened in the city. And this, at least to me, with my experience with understanding downtown, spending time at some of these facilities, this does not feel like something that is going to get out of hand. And, you know, and also keep in mind that there are not that many vacant lots in the Down City district.
It seems like kind of a light lift for an easy way to activate the space that's already looking to be activated in our downtown area.
Well, we know that people evidently have gone and activated it, whether we.
Well, think about
approve it or not.
Burnside. Have you been to the Burnside Park Beer Garden?
Burnside Park.
Yeah, they have, you know, music. That's technically not allowed right now either, is what Bob is saying. And this would legalize it. But that's fine.
And that's, well, they use a building there that's a permanent building.
You know, but you guys are just making my point. You're deciding to legalize something that's being done illegally. So I'm not sure that's so smart. Maybe it is. I
think that's when we changed the zoning to make things conform, it was done illegally and that we're making it legal. I mean, this is something that we think should be in the city, or some applicant thinks, and that we're gonna either recommend to the city council.
And again, we don't make the final
We don't make
decision.
the final decision,
This
but
is a recommendation to the city council to take action.
Burnside Park one.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean,
No, and nor would this be, according to me.
How about anybody ask, what does the Providence Police think of it?
They'll have ample opportunity to testify at the city council hearings, I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Look at these pictures of Chicago and the ATVs in Providence and everything else. And
I think comparing
kind of
this to
separate and
leading to
apart.
ATVs is a little bit beyond
I would agree with
what
that.
is before us.
you may think that, I'm not sure it is.
Does
I
anyone,
just don't think that I'm not sure that it's been thought through. I know you've had your meeting.
Well,
and I appreciate it.
We know where Harry's leaning. Noel, are you?
I'm a little stuck on the container being in line.
Okay.
Temporary. I mean, the other variations are great. If the container wasn't specific, it was alternative. What whatever structure.
Maybe I'll kick it over to the
But
applicant. and
because it
see if-
doesn't seem temporary to me, right?
Would-
I've seen containers parked and they stay there forever. And that's
Would
why
the
I asked about
applicant
the other
care
issue.
to maybe continue this item?
Continue to another meeting? Yeah. I mean, that's a choice of the commission, really.
So, Mr. Chair, maybe we can try and problem solve a little bit. I think the hope is that they can get this through so that it can get to a public hearing, so that it can be approved in time for the summer season. And, I wonder if there's a way that we can talk through this with, especially with Mr. Sanchez to increase his comfort level.
Well, I'll say first off that this also has to go through the council too for approval.
Mhm.
So this is just a recommendation to the council. However, if there's any if there's any concerns that you might have that I could potentially answer, I'm just a little confused as to what your exact concern is on this.
The container doesn't seem temporary,
Okay,
right? I mean, I know they're movable and all that, but they're not easily moved. Right?
Yep.
And so if you put it on the lot, and then you hook up electricity to it, temporary electricity, that can stay for a long time.
Mhm.
So it doesn't seem like we're talking about temporary food sales, temporary mobile food sales. And the container just doesn't sound temporary to me. It sounds like we'll put it there and it may be for there for the summer.
so I can say, I understand your concern. I think there are certain ways to address that question where the commission can make a recommendation to the council based on certain conditions happening, I believe, as well. So
We
you could
can.
add potentially,
So most
You know,
people seem abandoned.
yeah, a 6 month, like we were talking about before, a 6 month permit or year permit. I think the commissioner was saying there was some renewal it must be renewed every year. But I mean, there are a lot of different ways and a lot of different tools, I suppose, the commission could use to ensure that the temporary nature would stay temporary.
Well, I think that's a great point, and that helps me at ease a little bit. It helps me become less contrary to the creative downtown, Nicole. I think that I could agree to this if it were for the summer, say through September, October, and then
So spring through fall, basically.
and
I
then
mean, May.
and then a review. And
I would
maybe even
definitely-
have the containers would be removed in the fall. And then
I'd want
have
to
a
keep them up
review.
through October.
I mean, huh?
I want to keep them up through Oktoberfest, please.
Well,
I think what Harry's getting at is,
Like a finite
through
time
the
frame.
winter time,
Yeah,
an
yeah.
abandoned locked up box right down.
Yeah, like, by, November, April through November or something like that
Yeah.
would be reasonable in my opinion.
or
That's just my
court.
opinion.
So that could be a condition of your recommendation. to
A
the city council.
recommendation,
A recommended
trial-
condition.
Trial run, but also that the container be removed in the winter, after Oktoberfest, which is what? October.
I would say,
First
be
through
removed by
31st.
November 1st, yeah.
Okay,
No,
all
I say be removed by November 1st,
right.
April through November.
I mean, I'm not totally opposed to this. I'm opposed to the fact that it was just too open-ended, and thanks to the attorney and thanks to Noel being closed,
All right.
being compressed a bit.
So that would mean that we recommend approval with an additional condition that the structures be up only from April through November and they be removed during the winter months. That's what we recommend to the city council.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
might I make a suggestion potentially for a recommendation to put an or, obviously follow with what you just said, or reapply for a permit to renew in lieu of moving? So in other words, maybe a potential inspection at the end of every year, subject to a permit issuance to not remove necessarily, because
He's
That kinda
trying to
goes
make
against-
it permanent,
yeah.
and Noel and I are trying to make it impermanent. So that's.
Right,
where
there's
we
already
stand.
item number one.
Again, this is a recommendation to the city council. You'll
Of
have your
course.
chance to make your case to the city council.
Mhm.
And this is just what we're reviewing. They can, sometimes they listen to us, sometimes they don't.
Be better.
So I seem to have,
So we'll make a motion to positively recommend the changes to the city council, subject to, with a recommendation though, that the containers will be able to be there from April to November 1st.
do we have a second? All right, we have a second. We'll go around. Noel? Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Good luck at city council.
thank you, members of the commission. Good night.
All right, moving on. We are on agenda item number 6 now. It's an institutional master plan for Providence College.
Commissioners, if I, quick introduction as the applicants speak their way up. So this is a request to amend the institutional master plan for Providence College. And this focuses on their construction of a 5-story, 147,000 square foot academic building for nursing and health sciences. It will be built on the site of what is currently Fennel Residence Hall, which will be demolished. And in doing that, it will affect a number of student beds on campus as well as parking, and the applicant will also speak to that as part of their presentation. So as the applicants are here, they can elaborate.
Hey, good evening. My name is Mark Proposa. I am the Assistant Vice President, Capital Projects and Facilities Planning at Providence College. And with me is Emily Sparini, who is one of the project architects for the SLAM library. So thank you very much for having us tonight. So as part of President Saccad's inauguration back in 2021, he made it very, very clear that a nursing school, nursing program was integral to his vision for Providence College going forward. So in the process of doing that, we have gone through and have created, gone through the necessary steps for the approval for the nursing program. And we are now at a point where we are focusing on where this program is going to be taught. So there are specific points that I would just like to bring up. And then we will let Emily run through a short presentation that you may have seen as part of the documents, and then we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. The building is going to be placed on a footprint of a dormitory, a present dormitory on campus. Fennel Hall presently houses 186 students, and that will be taken down, and it will be replaced by this 147,000 square foot academic building. To make up for those beds, Providence College is going to be applying for a change of use for one of our other buildings on campus. Right now, it is and it's an administrative building, an academic building for 2 departments. And we will be renovating that building to accommodate 40 singles. Now, most of the beds in Fennel Hall are single beds. So 40 of those beds will be made up in this renovation to Sullivan Hall. Also, we need to add that our new dormitory, Shanley Hall, which has a total of 369 beds, and between both Fennel and, between Sullivan and Shanley Hall, we more than make up the beds. In fact, we will have a surplus of over 200 beds on campus, which basically allows us to do some renovation to additional traditional halls on campus. The expectation for the program is that we would be enrolling approximately 50 nursing students and 50 health science students per year, so that within a 4-year cycle, we would be increasing our undergraduate population by approximately 400 students. So we would be going from 3,800, 3,900 to 42. So it will affect, because of the size of this building, it will affect some parking, as did Shanley Hall. But we have, based upon the ordinance and the ratios that the ordinance dictate, Providence College has 1,167 parking spaces on campus. The ordinance dictates that we need 634 spaces for our normal everyday academic day. And at the present, we presently have 125 spaces on campus that are vacant. So they are available to the campus right now for transit folks coming and going. So I think we cover the beds that are moving around and we cover the parking. So having said that, unless there are questions about any of that, I will turn it over to Emily, and she will give us a presentation of what the project is.
You were here not too long ago to update your institutional master plan for those additional 300 and some odd beds. I don't believe, was this discussed at that time?
No, at that
That was
time,
just a net gain of 300 and change, and now we're reducing that net gain.
Right, but that net gain was based upon Providence College transitioning other beds from other buildings. So it wasn't an addition. There are additional beds onto campus, which is going to benefit us not only for our undergraduate population, but it also helps us put us in a position where we can transfer beds out of present traditional halls to allow us to renovate so that we can move people back. It gives us a swing space, to allow us to be able to do. Okay. Without us having to push anybody else off campus.
That was my concern. We had an influx of beds, and then seems like we're getting a little bit less influx by reducing the numbers in this existing housing
Correct,
that you
but
counted towards your beds for your previous master plan. Or institutional master
But the intent for those beds was to open up space for us to be able to renovate those traditional halls so that we can then.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pull this over because I speak a little quieter. As Mark mentioned, we are looking to locate our new building in roughly the southeast corner of campus. So Eaton Street runs along the bottom of the screen. You have River turning up north south. And the new building that we are proposing is located at the site of the existing Fennel Hall, which is indicated on red on this diagram. Just zooming in a little bit closer to give you more context of the site. So our building is again indicated in red. You can see the outline of the existing Fennel Hall building underlaid underneath the new proposed plan. Our footprint is larger than the existing building, but we'll show some images later where from the street perspective, it really doesn't dominate that campus edge. Also tied to this will be reworking the Eaton Street gate to provide better access into and from the site. We'll also be reimagining the quad, making it a little bit safer for pedestrian traffic, as well as providing appropriate fire department access. So just really quick overview of the floor plans. I'm not going to go through every single space, but currently we are proposing a 5-story building with a mechanical house on the roof level. The lowest level is actually partially submerged below grade, so it exits out to grade from the east edge of the building. The remainder west edge is submerged below grade. The lowest level is primarily campus amenities that can be shared not only for the nursing program, but also for the college at large, as well as community residents will be able to stay at this level, laboratory, some 100-seat flexible classrooms. Going up to the first floor, because of the grade change that we have across the existing site, the first floor also opens to grade. It opens to grade at the west side, which is the quad-facing side of the building. Levels 1, 2, and 3 are primarily geared towards nursing programs. So it will have a mix of virtual anatomy labs, physical assessment labs, classrooms, and then on the third floor, you'll see our sim suite. So again, just moving through this very quickly. Second floor is also more space for nursing, and then third floor is the kind of last floor of the nursing program. At the fourth floor, we are currently holding that as 100% shell for either future campus initiatives, growth of the nursing and health science programs, graduate programs, kind of to be determined at the discretion of the college. And then just moving into some quick rendering shots. So this is kind of an aerial rendering looking back. It's looking at the west side of the building that faces towards the quad with the city towards the back. We're trying to use materials that are local to the campus community that's already established. So you'll see a lot of brick. We have some granite that wraps around the base of the building. We're using a high performance concrete panel that looks very similar to a limestone or a precast. And this is where you'll see our mechanical penthouse that is indicated at the roof level. You'll kind of, so as we move through these, this, as I mentioned, is the view from Eaton Street. So while it is a very large footprint, it doesn't really dwarf, the other buildings that are around it in context. And this is a view coming from the quad, which is actually walking down as you approach from the Shanley Hall, which is currently being constructed. Looking at, the transparency between the quads, so that you see the activity that's happening within the building, and really helps to enliven that current quad and reimagine it. This is as though you were standing at the Eaton Street Gatehouse. So again, even facing back towards the larger community and the city, you still have that transparency. So it really kind of widens that Eaton Street gate, which right now doesn't have as much energy after hours. You'll have a large number of students, nursing students will be coming back and forth, to this building now as they go to clinicals at their different partner sites, which currently does not happen. And that is the end of the presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Are you guys considering
We are instituting solar panels on campus, not necessarily on.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions of the applicant, comments?
I just say it's a really handsome design, and I love the way it looks as though it's several different buildings. It doesn't look like one gargantuan structure. It's really handsome.
Yeah, it seems well thought out. It's a nice building. Noel, anything for
So my only question, adding students and taking away bed a little bit, but, and I suppose that's a different part of the master plan. The students population putting pressure on the neighborhood, the housing around it. So my question about that, future planning for the school, for the housing of students on campus, or housing of students in general, you're adding 400 students.
In a 4-year rotating, it will be an additional 400 students on campus. So to answer that question, Shanley Hole goes a long way to being able to adding these beds. So the net loss of beds from Fennel Hall is, we are looking at that being made up between Sullivan Hall and conversion, as well as a certain number of beds that we will be drawing down from Shannon. So the balance of the beds that are in Shannon is to address the students that are already on campus plus, so that the renovations that we will have in our updated master plan to our traditional residence will include the numbers of what those beds will be and how we make that up. So this is a process. You know, this is balance. Fully understand, okay, that you have the number of students that we have, colleges and institutions have. We're doing what we can from a planning perspective. Many students on campus. So we have our freshmen and sophomores, they have to live on campus. Okay, we have 800 juniors living on campus. We have 169 seniors living on campus. So with these students coming in, students coming in on the nursing program, they're going to be undergraduate freshmen that will be living on campus in beds that we are. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so just, from,
It is something that for years, the institutional master process, we have been working and balancing. We will continue.
So your current enrollment is how many students?
Our current enrollment is just under 4,100.
And how many beds do you currently have campus-wide?
Andy?
Did you say that's 4,100 undergraduates? So if it's a roughly 1,000 a class, all freshmen and sophomores would be about 2,000, and then 800 juniors and 169 seniors. So sounds like you're close to 3,000 on campus. Is that?
Really?
So about 3/4 of your undergraduate student body on campus.
It's better than most of the other institutions that come
no,
before
it's
us.
the thing, I know that
But we have
heard
to
a lot
ask, yeah,
of,
yeah.
presentations about building up.
Yeah. And your plan is to continue to build more housing for the students and not tax the neighborhood surrounding.
Our plan is to be able to accommodate our students.
Your student body.
Now, as our campus grow, which has, because of properties that we have been able to acquire, that neighbors have sold, come to us and ask us to buy. We don't necessarily go out
I remember this from your last institution.
trying to buy their houses. But as that, we're taking advantage of all those opportunities so that we can bring those properties into the institutional zone, so that we would then be in a position to be able to build additional houses.
And this is the only update since your last update,
This is
a year ago?
This is the only update, but in a conversation that I've had both, for the sake of the integrity of the master planning process, since 2016, we have had a number of amendments.
Correct.
So we are in the process now redoing the institutional master plan for the next 5 to 10 years. We have a new administration, we have a new vision, and I think the intent and the integrity of the planning process is for us to stop a point and then move forward. So with this amendment, what we will be doing, this will be the last amendment we ask for in this particular institutional method. We will be then presenting an updated plan, and that will be our new baseline.
With the ETA on that, is it a year, 2 years out?
We've already started working, so I'm hoping that in the next year, we will have institutional method and be able to present.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant before we hear the staff report and open it up to public comment? Thank you very much.
Would you mind disconnecting or stopping sharing? Please? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that we'll move on to the staff report and open it up to public comment after that.
And commissioners, the applicant described the development as is required for an amendment, and they also spoke on how it affects student housing, parking, and other issues that we typically review when amendments come before us. So based on that, we do find that the plan follows the format that's outlined in the comprehensive plan. And based on that, we recommend that you approve this amendment.
Short and sweet. All right. This is a public hearing, so we will look for public comment at this time. If you're here in the physical audience, please come forward. All right. Please do. We're
Please use the
online too. We need
microphone.
to use the microphone and state your name and address, all of that, all the fun stuff like normal.
Brett Bulgarian, 20 Extra Street, Providence, and I just want to say, I support the amendment.
Thank you. All right, again, if you're joining us in the virtual world, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. Is there anyone else from our physical world here who would like to comment on this agenda item, the institutional master plan for Providence College? And we're seeing none in the virtual world either. All right. With that, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. I have to say, I feel like I was a little hard on them because I'm always hard on the institutions to make sure they address their housing, but they do a better job than most of the other institutions we do. But we have to ask. I think it's a great building, and I'm very happy they're being proactive in updating their entire institutional master plan. Look forward to seeing that in the coming months or years.
I'd love to see energy efficiency and solar. Big, huge TC Fire fan. Would love to see TC leading in energy efficiency and clean energy initiatives as well.
Let's hope that the applicant heard that. Maybe focus on that a little in your update as well, what your plans are. Any other discussions or maybe a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion, we approve Providence College Master Plan Amendment as presented today, the 18th of April, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Any more discussion or second? We need a second.
Second.
Nicole, any other discussion before a vote? All right, we'll go around. Noel? Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry? Aye. And I vote aye. Good luck. We look forward to seeing you back soon. Moving right along to agenda item number 7. It's a minor subdivision, case number 23-017 UDR, 56 Bridgham Street.
And thanks, Mr. Chair. So quick introduction. This is a minor subdivision with variance requested through UDR. And it stems from the fact that this is a lot that measures about 12,200 square feet. And the applicant is requesting to subdivide into 2 lots of 7,000 142 and 5,257 square feet. And it is currently occupied by a three-family dwelling. And it is a through lot with frontage on Bridgham Street and Arch Street. And the existing dwelling faces Bridgham Street. So the applicant is requesting the subdivision and also an associated variance because the lot width on Arch Street is 40 feet and will not meet the minimum lot width requirement of 50 feet. So the applicant will be presenting their request for the subdivision and making a case for the variance from law.
Okay, so this is actually a UDR application. We are going to be hearing this under Unified Development Plan Review.
That's right. And for that reason, you're going to want to swear in any witnesses who are going to testify. Maybe have the stenographer do that.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair, would you like to do them all together?
Sure, we can get them done with right away. Yes, that would be great.
Actually, let me introduce my name is Ken.
Introduce your clients and then anyone who's going to testify, we'll get them sworn in and then you can proceed with your presentation.
My name is Ken McGonigal. I'm the attorney for Women's Development Corporation, which is the general partner of the owner of 56 Bridgham Street. Because it's unified development and a minor subdivision, we do have a presentation from four experts. Charlotte Thomas Davison is next to me. She'll be discussing the finances of women's development and of the project. Mr. Chris Tarr is our architect who will discuss his plan. Our engineer, Tim Bean from Commonwealth Engineering, will show you his plan. And lastly, Mr. McHugh is going to help us with some of the findings you need to hear about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was recently on the board of Women's Development Corporation a year ago, not anymore. I would have to find out.
We can sign on the form, right?
Yeah, just confirming you have no financial interest.
No.
I don't think there should be a problem.
Is the applicant feel okay to proceed based on that knowledge?
Yes,
Okay, wonderful.
we have to kind of share this.
Charlotte Thomas Davison.
And your title.
I'm Director of Real Estate Development at Women's Development Corporation.
Explain to the Planning Commission a little bit about Women's Development Corporation and its nonprofit status.
So Women's Development is a nonprofit 501c3 dedicated to the development, ownership, and property management, ultimately, of affordable housing. We've been around for more than 30 years. And we have properties from Woonsocket to Westerly, and then a couple in southeastern Massachusetts. And our entire mission is, again, the development of affordable housing. And then we have a property management arm that continues to manage those properties. We have just over 700 properties in Rhode Island that we own, that we have developed, own, and manage, as well as a couple hundred other that we manage for social service providers that need more expertise in management.
And given Women's Development's nonprofit status, do you agree that the action of the applicant in this request is not based in a desire for greater financial gain?
Correct. I agree that as a nonprofit, we're not motivated toward financial gain, but rather toward fulfilling the mission of the development of affordable housing.
So those questions were kind of rote, but the next and final question from Ms. Thomas Davison is really kind of our highlight. And that's about the whole West End project. And I'd like to ask her if she might like to just discuss it with you without interruption
Please,
by my
please do.
questions.
I'm sure you'll get all of your standards met at some point throughout your testimony. Yeah.
So no interruptions. So this property that we're here to discuss, 56 Bridgham, is part of a larger development, which we are working on currently. At present, it is part of what we call Historic West End 2. That is an affordable housing development that we acquired the properties in. One of them was 30 years ago. One was in 1992, one was in 1989, I believe, of the two. A neighbor to this development is another development we have called West End Preservation Apartments. So between the two of them, there are 17 buildings and 47 affordable housing units, which we've had for roughly 30 years. They're all eligible, luckily, I guess, for federal historic tax credits. But other than maintaining them over 30 years, they haven't had any significant reinvestment other than, boiler updates and such. And so they're desperately in need of reinvestment. They're 100% occupied at this time, and we have a pretty stable tenant population. As we have pursued the redevelopment or the preservation, if you will, of these 47 units, we noticed that there were 2 buildable lots potentially already within the ownership. One was associated with historic West End 2. That's the one we're here to talk about. Another on Gilmore Street, which we talked about last month. And zoning, right. And this one in particular had been combined with the other lot that we own. And we're asking, as you know, to subdivide it. What it allows us to do is an unusual opportunity to develop, in this building, 3 new affordable housing units within a preservation project within the grid of the existing neighborhood. So between this and the property on Gilmore, we're able to bring 5 more affordable housing units that are deed restricted that don't currently exist within the grid of the neighborhood that's already there. And I think the others will talk more about the character of the architecture and such, but that is, I think, what is unique here, as the 47 units that need redevelopment and the opportunity to bring 5 new at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carr can come up now.
And remember, before you testify, just state your name for the record, please, and your affiliation.
Hi, my name is Chris Tarr. I'm with DBVW Architects. TAR. DBVW Architects. We're working with Women's Development on this project, and just a couple of, you have made a visit, more than one visit to 56 Bridgham, is that right? Absolutely. And you have, I was hoping that you could discuss with the board some of your findings about the history of the lot and the structure that's there now. Absolutely. The existing building that's there at 56 Bridgham was built around 1875, and it's a 3-story, 3-family dwelling. The lot immediately next to it has always been vacant. The one that we're talking about building on historically had a building on it. We know that it was there about 1899. And the last time that we were able to see it in the records was sometime in the 1960s, 1970s, when it was presumably taken down. So what we're looking to do is to put a building back into that spot that has been historically occupied by a residence. What we're looking to do is put on a 3-story, 3-family dwelling, first floor being an ADA apartment unit, 2-bedroom, the second floor being a 2-bedroom apartment, and the third floor being a 1-bedroom apartment. With the goal being that the building is similar in size and scale to the rest of the buildings of the neighborhood. Thank you. We're all set. If you are. Well, Mr. B is coming up. I will tell the planning commission that between Mr. B and Mr. McHugh, we believe that we've divided up the items that you guys need to hear. And you need to identify yourself for the record.
For the record, good evening. My name is Timothy Behan, professional engineer with the firm Commonwealth Engineers and Consultants, Providence, Rhode Island. Behan.
Mr. Behan, you're familiar with the property at 56 Bridgham?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Could you please, for the board's sake, for the commission's sake, describe it and the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes, the board is what we call a through lot. So it fronts on 2 lots, Arch Street and also Brigham. The lot size is about 12,400 square feet, and it has an existing 3 family dwelling on it.
Would you describe the neighborhood too?
Yes, the neighborhood, the immediate abutters are generally 1, 2, 3, and 4 family dwelling units.
you have prepared the plans that have been submitted to the planning commission for their review tonight, is that correct?
That is correct.
Would you briefly run through the plans?
Yes, I will. Can we project an existing conditions plan? Is that possible?
Bob happens to have that as usual, ready to go.
I have the plan set that you, at the plan set that you provided. I believe this is well, it's not existing conditions exactly, but it shows the, will this suffice or?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean,
Tell me what to put up and I'll put up based on what you submitted to us.
it would be, I believe, sheet 3 is existing conditions.
I have a document that has, oh, maybe this is it right here.
So,
The left side would be existing.
yeah, so we submitted the last 2 pages of the submission
Right
because
there.
those pertain to
Okay.
There we go.
the minor subdivision.
So this is the existing conditions plan. We have Brigham Street to the left. We have Arch Street to the right. So it connects to both streets. The existing dwelling is on the top left corner. That's a 3-family unit. And we have some parking to the bottom or to the west of that dwelling unit. So that area west or down lower than that. Yeah, exactly. That's the existing parking area. And the area down by Arch Street is a little patch of grass in that area down there. And basically that's it.
Discuss for the commission the relief requested.
The relief requested to subdivide the lot is that existing unique characteristic of the parcel, which is the frontage on Arch Street is 40 feet. See that dimension? That's 40 feet. So that's an existing condition on that parcel, which we cannot obviously change.
Could the project be developed without that relief?
No, the project could not be.
With respect to a dimensional variance, is the relief being sought? I have 2 questions and I'll jump together for you if you don't mind, Mr. Bean. Is the relief being sought the least relief necessary to accomplish the purposes sought? And can you describe for the commission how you worked to make sure that we were only requesting this particular item?
Yes, this is the least amount of relief necessary. And when we designed the project, we looked at multiple things because this is 2 lots. We need sufficient area. We have the sufficient area for both lots. We need parking. We have sufficient parking for the project. We needed to meet the front, the side, and the rear setbacks for the new proposed dwelling and also with the existing dwelling when we incorporate that new lot line. And we also needed to meet requirements for impervious surfaces. So everything's been addressed properly. The only relief we need is that existing unique character of the 40 feet on that parcel.
Thank you. Mr. Bean, have you reviewed the city's comprehensive plan with regard to this neighborhood?
Yes, I have.
And do you have an opinion on the consistency with that plan and our request?
Yes, within the comprehensive plan, there's what we call a future land use map. And this parcel is identified as a medium density residential, which is for 1 to 3 family dwellings, which we are meeting. And the lot sizes are typically 3,200 square feet to 5,000 square foot lots, which we meet that requirement as well.
Thank you. That's the end of Mr. Bean, if you have some questions.
Noel has a question, and I may have one if it isn't addressed by Noel.
So will you need an easement? Through the next one? Maybe just technically, technicality, because you own both of them, but.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
For parking.
I was going to address that after Mr. McHugh's comments, because I saw that the planning commission recommendation mentioned that as a suggestion. And we have no problem with that, but I did get some good legal advice from our architect tonight who reminded me that 2 lots owned by the same owner can't really grant easements to each other.
No, they can't.
So I was hoping we could massage the language a little bit so that it might say you require a restrictive covenant to be imposed or another legal method that meets the commission's
Yeah,
approval.
we've run
Because you're
into
right,
this.
we need something.
We've run into this before, and I believe like a use agreement that's recorded with both lots, reciprocal use and access agreement, I think is what we've usually done.
That would certainly work. Yeah.
And it would be
But
less.
he's your architect.
We're just
is
worried
correct.
about the word
Yes.
easement.
Yeah. Okay.
So, any other questions? I think.
And that, with that reciprocal use and access agreement parking would be sufficient for zoning for both parcels at that point. Yeah. Okay, perfect. That was also my question as well.
Should we go on to Mr. McHugh or?
Please do.
All right.
As always, we reserve the right to call any of your
And they're all
witnesses back.
Hi, my name is Michael McHugh, it's MC capital H-U-G. The report, I don't know. if you would like to take it, basically outlining what I'm going to be talking about this evening.
Yeah, you can definitely submit it and we'll include it as part of the record. It should also be noted for the record that the applicant had submitted professional resumes for each of the applicant's witnesses that are testifying this evening as well. Those will also be added to the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. McHugh, are you familiar with the area at 56 Bridgham?
Yes, I am.
Would you describe the lot and the area for the
Yeah.
board, please?
On Bridgham Street, there's existing three-story. On Bridgham Street, there's an existing three-story, three-family dwelling, adjacent parking lot, and then the parking lot continues up to the back of the lot. It's a pool lot onto Art Street. Back of Art Street is grass area, and parking area goes up to that grass area. The back lot, which was previously mentioned, that lot was always a separate lot along Art Street.
You just move it
That
a
lot
little
was
closer.
always a separate lot. It was actually lot number 544. And originally platted and originally built on, and then it was mentioned right that building was evidently demolished. Back in 1995, that lot was merged in with the two lots on Bridgham Street. That's when they created this existing parking area that exists today. That lot on Art Street was a separate lot, and it always had the 40-foot street frontage. There's no change to that. And that's the only reason we're here this evening is for dimensional variance for that.
Mr. McHugh, in your opinion, is the hardship for which the applicant seeks relief due to the unique character of the parcel and not to the general character of the surrounding area?
Yes, as I say, that lot was originally created as a 40-foot lot there. It was either a 2 or 3 family house at that location, originally constructed many years ago. It was demolished for whatever reason back in the 60s or maybe 70s. Been vacant, then it got merged in 1995. If it was not merged in 1995, it would be a buildable lot today, and we probably wouldn't be here. But however, it was merged in, and now we want to separate it. So basically, what we're doing is replacing the existing lot, a new lot with the existing lot, and putting in a new building where the old building was, almost the exact location.
In your opinion, would it be more than a mere inconvenience to deny this requested relief?
In my opinion, it would, for all the reasons I mentioned, and also what the engineer mentioned, that the existing 3-family structure meets the use requirements, lot size, all these setback issues and the parking. And the new building we're going to build meets the same. It meets the lot size, the use, all the setbacks. The only thing it does not meet is that lot frontage, which has existed since originally platted back whenever that area was platted. No change whatsoever. They consider it a new lot because it was merged, and now we're back subdividing it again.
With regard to the subdivision findings, if it's okay with the commission, and Mike, I'd like to make some statements and ask you to give your expert opinion in response to those statements. If that's okay?
Sure.
First, the proposed development is in compliance with the standards and provisions of the zoning ordinance.
Yes, it is. As I just mentioned, it meets all the zoning requirements except for that lot frontage, which
really is not being changed whatsoever.
There will be no significant environmental impacts from the proposed development, as will be shown on the final plan with all required conditions for approval.
Certainly should be no environmental issues. That was a buildable lot and remains a buildable lot. There are no other issues with that lot other than general construction issues.
The subdivision as proposed will not result in the creation of individual lots with physical constraints to development. That building on those lots according to pertinent regulations and building standards would be impracticable.
Yeah, both buildings will meet all of the requirements except for the lot frontage, which again has existed for many years. Should be no issues whatsoever.
And lastly, with regard to street access, and we did a little bit of a discussion on this already, both lots will have adequate and permanent physical access to a public street, or will be done legally.
Yes, the existing house fronts on Bridgham Street, existing. The new house on Art Street will have a front door on Art Street. That will be the main entrance. They will share the parking area or the access to the parking area, although the parking area, as mentioned previously, will be on 2 separate lots, sufficiently for each individual 3-family dwelling.
Mr. Chair, that concludes our testimony. We are all here for questions. We do want to thank the help that Bob and Troyan gave us for months getting ready for tonight. But that concludes.
Yes, they're stewards of Providence land use for sure. Oftentimes when we see the project, it's been through a few iterations and it's been cleaned up very, very, very much. It's the work that happens behind the scenes that not everyone can appreciate, but we do. So thank you for that. Commissioners, any questions aside from what Noel and I have already posed to the applicant? Okay. All right. With that, thank you very much. We will hear the staff report and we will open it up to public comment.
Sorry, commissioners, as far as the variance goes, the applicant did speak to the different criteria of the variance that they're required to present. They spoke about how the hardship was a result of the layout of the lot, that it wasn't a result of any prior action that they had taken. They spoke to the comprehensive plan and how granting of this variance will not alter the character of the surrounding area. This would be the least relief necessary to subdivide the lot. And also they did speak to the fact that the hardship that will be suffered if you don't grant this would be more than a mere inconvenience. So based on that, we would recommend that you grant the relief for a minimum lot width in order to be able to subdivide this lot. As far as the subdivision goes, again, the applicant did speak about the comprehensive plan and how this subdivision result in a lot that conforms to the future land use maps designation for medium density residential development. Subject to you granting the relief from lot width, they will conform to the minimum lot size as well as lot width requirements. And we don't foresee a negative environmental impact. These will be buildable lots with no constraints to development. And street access will be provided from Bridgham and Art Street. And as discussed, we do encourage the applicant to enact a reciprocal use and access agreement for movement between both lots. The validity of the preliminary plan, we request that it be extended to 1 year from the date of reporting of the approval letter. And finally, we ask that final plan approval be delegated.
Okay, thank you very much, Troyan. This is a public hearing, so if anyone here in the audience, we will open up public comment at this time. Anyone's here to comment on this agenda item, please come on forward. And if we have anyone in our virtual world, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 to be recognized. Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item at this time. Well, it's a pretty good project. I like this.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I may, I just want to compliment the attorney on what for me was probably the best presentation of a zoning variance that we've seen in front of this board.
It was efficient, it checked all the
I
boxes.
completely agree.
It was, yeah, I agree with you as well. That was, it was very well run. Thank you. John doesn't present it as well. No, we've never said that about Attorney Gary. I hope you're watching. John, I hope you're watching.
Getting close, Mr. Gary, please. You're crying.
We'll have to show him this recording, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
Well, it will, if there's no further discussion, we're gonna definitely have two votes on this, correct? We'll need one for the dimensional variance, and then we'll need one for the minor subdivision, obviously with the recommendations that are listed in the report and modified.
So let's start with the dimensional variance. And I will make a motion to approve the request for relief for minimum lot width based on what we heard today and what was discussed.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Noel. Any discussion before a vote? Move through. Noel? Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry? Aye. And I vote aye.
And then I will make a motion that we approve the preliminary plan pursuant to the dimensional relief that we just granted. And that it should be approved subject to the following conditions. There are three that were mentioned in the staff report, except for the first one is revised, so it doesn't mention easement, the cross access agreement.
That's what, I believe that's what Troyan had stated when he read out the staff report. He modified it already. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All right. We have a motion on the table. Do we have any other discussion before a vote? All right, we will go around. Noel? Aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Harry? Aye. And I vote aye. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you. Yeah, I think with that, we're a ways into this meeting. We have another agenda item. It could be a little bit lengthy, so I need to use the restroom. I think we'll break right now for
10 minutes?
we have dinner too. We can
Listen.
eat while we're listening. So we'll do we'll come back at 7 o'clock. That'll give us 12 minutes to eat some food quickly and use those facilities. So we'll come back right at 7 o'clock. We want to keep this moving. Thank you. Okay, apologize for the delay. We've just lost our quorum. So this matter, agenda item number 8 at 269 Wickenden Street will have to be continued. Considering that Mr. Bilodeau is going to be recusing himself from this agenda item. We no longer have a quorum at this meeting. We only have 3 members left and we need 4. So this will be continued until the May 16th meeting at 4:45 PM in this room. We apologize in advance. We didn't know this was going to occur until just now. We fully planned on hearing this matter this evening, as did the applicant intend on presenting this evening. And we apologize for any inconvenience, but this matter will be continued until 4:45 on May 16th. We'll take a motion to adjourn. All right, meeting is adjourned. If you have any questions, you can direct them at the staff.